such a delight all day. I've had a fantastic day and I hope you all have too. It's a real celebration of a very tough year that you've all had, and to just stopping, pausing, acknowledging what we've come through, what you've come through this year. It's just really important. And this is a chance to take stock. What's your journey been, and what have you learned as a result? Learned from projects that you may have been involved in directly, but now projects that other people have been beavering away on and you can take into your own practice. So a very important purpose of today was for you, the audience, to learn what other teachers have found work well, and for you to get tips for immediate use, and to identify areas that you definitely want to develop. So if you haven't done that, I kind of want to shoot you, because that is absolutely key. Sharing lessons across the FE Maths network is a really important priority, especially as this CFEM programme matures. We're now we're in the third year of 5 years. You've got to grips with what action research is. New people are coming on board all the time, which is really exciting. Lots of immediate ideas and things to develop. A few things that struck me, not being from a maths background, but I'm going to float these ideas. Ratio tables, mentioned several times across today's presentations. Students feeding back what they want help on, or just having more voice and opportunities that you create for them to talk. Concrete pictorial abstract, that came up several times. Taking time to introduce new technologies. It's a big theme there that's come up several times. Giving time for staff and students to familiarise themselves before expecting any effective practice using new texts. So that's just a few, but beyond that, there are some other recurring themes from today's presentation in this room, room 1, that I picked out. Now, you may have different versions of what you think was particularly important at a kind of more general level. And of course, that depends on your interest too. What struck me personally was how strongly the projects confirmed there's no one right model. We saw that with the Harlow and Northampton coaching models, for example, but we saw it elsewhere as well. And how crucial the learning environment is that staff set. So no one right model, but a good learning environment that's right for your students and your teachers and so on. So Katie and Emma and Daniel and Sarah shared practical ways to level the traditional power imbalance between students and teachers, for example, getting more student-teacher dialogue, and worked out ways in which, really different ways in which students could voice their own feelings, say where they wanted help on, talk more freely, have a safe space, or have a resource to stimulate the conversation. So, Spyros's comments, the audio there was wonderful too, and how he was going to hear what students said and move away from him delivering. Wonderful. And then several projects picked up maths in context, applications. And that's been a really big theme today, I think, despite the crammed GCSE curriculum. I think that was very interesting, getting creative with the applications and the contextualization of maths. One of the stories I kept hearing when I first joined this programme a year and a bit ago was it's just really hard to fit everything in. It's hard to get that deeper conceptual understanding of the application. Well, I think you're working through ways in which to do that, be that Focus 15 or other things. Just the importance of conceptual understanding and how different that is from fluency. And so that really came across loud and clear today. But as I said, I am not a maths person. I am a research methodology person. I'm so excited by people saying action research has worked for us. I think we have got a rosy view today. I think we have. I think there are people for whom it was blooming hard work and slog and sweat and tears as well. But let's celebrate what we have got. There are so many positive changes that have been made through you being willing to do some action research and the funding, the generous funding from DFE that has enabled that to happen. So a huge thank you and well done for the positive impacts that you've made on learners through doing action research. The vision is action research for continuous professional development. So absolutely, that has worked. Keep it going. Today's presentations were so well grounded in the relevant literature. And yet there's still a paucity of directly relevant literature to FE. And by doing this work, you are helping fill some of that gap. So thank you for that. There is relevant literature out there. It's hard to find sometimes, but every presentation was really grounded and had results coming from what the literature told you, as well as your professional, and you trusted your own view, your professional response to that and what's happening in your classrooms and your settings, and also then what you then went to investigate and find out too. Fantastic. 3 more points before I wrap up. Action research projects all, I think, found out that they needed a wide range of stakeholders in order to make the change happen. Tapping into influence. It's one of these conversations we're having, isn't it, Lou? Again and again. I think 2 years ago, perhaps people weren't ready for that. The wider community, the wider set of people who need to be engaged in action research to get the impact, to make the change. Because you're getting to grips just with the basic methodology and how to get a research focus and so on. But that's interesting how that's really come on. Thinking about your stakeholders and keeping them on board, and so that they help influence change at a structural, systemic, practical, resource or timetabling, or whatever it is sort of level. Second to last point. It's delightful every time I'm at a conference or meet teachers who are surprised to hear what students think. They've asked the question of students, they've found out their feelings, and they've got some responses, and it's a delight and it's a surprise and it's interesting. That's so invigorating. It's so worthwhile. And there are numerous big and small revelations that happen in every piece of research. And I'd encourage everybody to carry on with that curiosity, that spirit of inquiry, to ask of students, what do they think? What worked for them? Whether it's part of a big action research project or something smaller and more modest. But that was fantastic. And my last point is about the power of qualitative research to inform meaningful change and practice. And that has been really high throughout today's presentations. Yes, there's been percentages. Yes, we've talked about surveys and we've seen the odd sort of box and whiskers plot and things like that. But never, ever apologize for not collecting large-scale quantitative data, because the meaningful, contextualized, rich, insightful data is often the qualitative data that can really make, that you can use to make a meaningful change. So qualitative data, yay, come on. Mixed with quant is great, but qualitative data is really powerful, and I'm saying this to an audience of maths teachers. I know it takes a while to embrace and trust, but you've really done it. So thank you everybody. It's been a real pleasure.